Why is just that I want to help as many people, help as many other people as I possibly can.
No, and that's
I
awesome.
don't much care how I do that.
And there it is, stay true to your why. And I would encourage all of you to stay true to your why, because that will, when you have clarity of why you do what you do, when you understand why, it gives where you're going. This is what I call the VIP experience, right? And it gives that VIP experience not only to your employees, the people that work for you, but also to your customers, the people that you're servicing. So when you know why you're doing what you're doing, it gives your where so much more value. It gives what you do so much more impact. And it gives how you do it so much more precision. Right? That's your VIP, your value, impact, and precision once you know why you're doing what you're doing. Right? So I would encourage all of you to stay focused on knowing why you're doing what you're doing. Lesson number 3, your desire to give should exceed your expectation to receive. Don't go into this thing just looking for what you can get out of it. Focus on your contribution. What are you putting into it? What are you giving into this thing? It was another valuable lesson that we learned from this process. Is I think so often as entrepreneurs, right, we're taught about what we're going to get out of it, right? Going into it with an exit strategy. What are we going to get out of it? But the real winners are focused on what they can contribute. This is my belief from an entrepreneurship standpoint. As entrepreneurs, we answer a calling, right? 3 primary ways to have provision for yourself and your family. You can have a job, you can have a career, you can have a calling, right? And the calling doesn't have to be exclusive of a career or a job, but entrepreneurs, I am convinced, we are called. And when you have a calling, it's not about you, it's about the contribution that you're making to others, to the greater good. A job, it's a 9 to 5. You go there, you get the check, you get the money, you're good, you go home, you don't really care too much about the job, what happens after. A career, that's really about you, right? I was career focused for a long time. A career is like, I want the next raise, I want the next promotion, I want the status. That's career. Now, the organization benefits, but it's really about you. Now, a calling is about the things that I know that I'm gifted at, the areas where I'm gifted, and I'm making a greater contribution, a contribution to the greater good, bigger than myself. Entrepreneurs, we're special. We have a calling, so our desire to give has to exceed our expectation to receive. That doesn't mean you're always going to give more than you receive, but that desire needs to be in line with that. Lesson number 4, know the difference between quitting and necessary endings. So some of us probably just experienced this during Valentine's Day. Ran into some necessary endings, right? He didn't treat you right, she didn't treat you right. She's like, this is it, I'm fed up. No more of this. This is over. But there's a difference between quitting and necessary endings. As we were going through the different treatments and exploring the different ways to have a baby, have a child, we had to stop. Some of those things were just necessary endings because of the toll that they were taking on us physically and mentally, right? They were just necessary endings. But that didn't mean we were quitting and giving up. Certain things were just necessary endings. So for you guys, if there might be a certain business partner that you're in an unhealthy relationship with, that's a necessary ending if it's not going to help you press forward. There may be some approaches that you're taking that's not getting you where you need to go in that business. That's a necessary ending. It doesn't mean you're quitting. And certain things are just necessary endings if they aren't yielding the results that you need to yield. So just understand that there's a big difference between quitting and necessary endings. So lesson number 5 is very closely connected to lesson number 4. And you may have to change the approach, but please never give up on your dream, right? I talked about it. We tried IUI, we tried in vitro, we tried artificial insemination, but we never gave up on the dream. And for a lot of you guys, the things that you're doing right now may not be working. You may have to try a different approach, but that doesn't mean you give up on the dream. There's a saying that I love, and it goes, methods are many, principles are few. Methods always change, but principles never do. Right? So you may have to change the approach and the method of what you're doing, but just do not ever give up on the dream. And this is where purpose comes into play, of understanding why you're doing what you're doing, because that becomes your guiding principle, your North Star. Right? If you have clarity of purpose, then you can focus on that. The methods will change, I can guarantee you. How you go about doing whatever it is you're doing now is going to change. But as long as you have that guiding principle that's keeping you grounded and focused, then that will get you to where you need to go. This is one of my favorites. Lesson number 6. Stop looking at yourself in other people's mirrors. Stop looking at yourself in someone else's mirror. This happens so often. We were comparing ourselves to other people that had a kid, had 2 kids, had 3 kids. I remember I was on a trip. Tamika called me and she was like, guess what came in the mail? I was like, what, man? She's like, we got an invitation from so-and-so. Baby shop. I was like, man, another kid? Are they rabbits? Another kid? And so we were constantly comparing ourselves. Now, that's challenging for you guys with this generation. My focus is on the millennial generation. I do a lot of work in helping companies understand how to connect with you guys. Focused on millennials. Wrote a book about it, Millennials Revealed. So I go around teaching and educating organizations how to connect with millennials. And what's challenging for you that hasn't been the same challenges for organizations past is social media, man. You guys have created a culture of constant comparison. It's tough. But you can't look at yourself in other people's mirrors. You will bum yourself out trying to compare yourself to the next man or the next woman. Because you don't have his or her gift. You don't have his or her passion. You want to have what you may see someone else with, but you're not even passionate about that. That's not even an area where you're gifted. So if you were to do that, you wouldn't even be good at it, and you probably wouldn't even like it. So we can't get caught up looking at ourselves in other people's mirrors. We all have a specific purpose that we were gifted with. And your purpose is, I do a segment called GPS to Purpose. And GPS is an acronym for your gifts, your passion, and your service. Right? Understand your gifts. And when you can find the intersection point between your gifts and your passion, then you can find a service that you can monetize that leverages your strengths and the things that you love. We all have our own internal GPS that will guide us to our purpose. But you have to understand what that is for you. Who in here feels like they know their gifts? Who knows their gifts? You know your gifts? What are your gifts?
Product development, engineering.
Yeah? And what are you passionate about?
Just creating innovative product for the consumer. You know what I mean? So helping them do things like a lot easier than what they're on.
Anybody else know their gifts? What's your gifts, Al?
I like connecting with people.
It's a great one. Yeah? What are you passionate about?
Passionate about helping people find what they're passionate about. No, I'm serious.
Really? Okay. So then there are a number of ways that you can provide a service that you can monetize in that area. Like that will lead you and guide you to your purpose. Versus looking at areas where other people are making money and doing this and having success. Because chances are, that's not the same way that you're going to have success, the same path that's meant for you.
And I'm also passionate about negotiating with people.
Negotiations?
Yeah.
So find that internal GPS, your gifts, your passions, and be able to provide a service, right? And to not get caught up in this culture of constant comparison that a lot of times for this generation, social media has made it virtually impossible. Anytime you look on Facebook or look on Twitter or Snapchat or whatever, somebody, and understand this, everybody is not what they're supposed to be. All right? Remember that. And so while you're busy comparing yourself to what they have up there. And then this last lesson, lesson number 7. Faith, patience, and obedience. Critical, critical, critical. You have to have faith, and those are supposed to be faith, patience, and obedience. I could not find an image that could effectively represent faith, patience, and obedience. So, first girl's name is Faith. Second girl's name is Patience. And the young lady with the tax, that's obedience. So, you have to believe, you have to have faith in yourself. You have to have faith in the business that you're starting. You have to believe in it. I think it was Gandhi that said, to believe in something and not live it is just being dishonest. If you really believe in something but you're not living it out with your actions and your behaviors, then you're being dishonest to yourself and everyone around you. Right? So you have to really have faith and trust and believe in yourself. And not everyone is going to understand that vision. And it's because they haven't been given the vision that you've been given. So you can't allow other naysayers and other people to discourage you because they haven't been given that vision. And then you have to be patient. It takes a lot of patience to become an overnight success. Trust me. The people that you see that are doing it, that's out there getting it, man, they've been at it for a minute. They've been at it for a minute. Did you who saw Straight Outta Compton? Anybody see Straight Outta Compton? I saw that. Dr. Dre, I found this very interesting, right? And you want to talk about faith and patience. Dr. Dre walked away from Death Row Records when they were at arguably their height, their peak. He walked away, didn't even fight or negotiate out. He didn't negotiate at all. He didn't fight or negotiate for the rights to the masters to his music. He didn't fight or negotiate or ask for any monies that were owed to him because he believed in his gift enough that he could reproduce that again somewhere else. He just walked away. But he also knew, going back to one of the lessons, is that Death Row Records at that time for him was a necessary ending. They were at their peak, they would get money, they out there doing everything, they riding around in red caddies and all that type stuff. But that was a necessary ending for him. And it paid dividends in the long run. Now we're looking at Dr. Dre is what, practically a billionaire? But he had the faith and trust in his own gifts that he could replicate that and do it again. Faith is critical. You guys have to have that. And then obedience is a must. Obedient to what? It's about being obedient to the call. You guys have to be obedient to that calling that you have. And for entrepreneurs, it really is. I'm a firm believer that it is a calling. And because you want to do something that not many people can do. You want to do something that no one else has done before. And people are looking at you crazy like, yo, why you can't do that? But because they didn't get the call, you got the call. You have to be obedient to that calling. And whatever that calling comes from, whoever it is to you in your life, the universe, whatever your higher power is, that's calling you because that's why you want to do whatever it is you want to do. And if you're only in it I'm telling you now, if you're only in it for the money, if you're just going in it without what I can get out of it, I'm not convinced you are a true and pure entrepreneur, because entrepreneurs are doing it for a larger reason, for a greater cause, for a greater calling. And that calling is whatever it is in your life. Now, how many of you guys have ever started to do something? And I guess another way to describe that calling is something. Right? It's something. How many of you have ever gone to do something? Gone to, maybe you were going to visit someplace and you decided not to go. Maybe about to go to the club, about to go to a bar. And you didn't go. And then you hear from your friends, Spot guy, shut up! You was like, yo, something told me I shouldn't have went to that spot. Something. Or how many of you went somewhere or did something that you probably knew you shouldn't have? Then you got caught up. Whatever that caught up was for you got caught up. You know? She was your girlfriend's homegirl and you ain't even know. Now, the first thing you said, something told me I shouldn't have went over there. Something. We have to listen to that something, that calling in our lives. And that's what we're here to do as entrepreneurs. So, these are the 7 life lessons that you may not hear anywhere else. You may not hear in the classroom. But these are the things I want you guys to understand as you are pursuing your vision and pursuing your dream, is that listen to that voice, listen to that call, and understand that life isn't the way it should be, it's the way that it is, right? And that you have to exercise faith in believing in yourself and believing in that vision, and understand that everything has to start with your why. Start with your purpose. Once you understand your why, everything else will fall into place. Trust me. And that's how it worked for me with True Access. Thank you, guys.
All right, so we're going to open the floor up to some Q&As. I'm going to ask the first question. I know True was a rapper. I'm wondering if you had any rap he wants to share with us.
I'll do that last. Let's answer some,
Okay,
I'll do that
okay.
last. Let's answer some questions first.
So what was the passion that drove you to do a rap?
Well, my purpose, my why is to